What is up, Sports Wars? It's Tommy, and today we're going to talk about this topic by Inside College Football. The greatest college football quarterbacks of all time. Who is it? All right, this was suggested to me by Mirror Jeremy. I'll try to cover things that you guys want to cover here on the channel whenever we can. So thanks for the suggestion there. Shout out on that. So there are a lot of wrong answers to this question. Lucky for us, there is one right answer. So we'll get to that, but first we're going to walk through some of the names that they came up with.
Another that deserved to be mentioned in the best ever conversation.
Well, this is a perfect follow-up to the guy we were just talking about. I think it's Vince Young. Vince Young lost one game as a starter at the University of Texas, a 2-year starter there, 22-1, and this guy brought a swagger to that football team. Up to that point, Texas was winning 9 and 10 games a year. They couldn't get over that hump. They weren't beating OU each year, and they weren't in that national title conversation. He brought that swagger. Everyone stepped up their game. So not only did he impart his will and that swagger upon the players, but also that coaching staff. I mean, there were so many changes that came about because of that young man and his ability, his talents, and a debt of gratitude will always be owed to Vince Young.
Coach, how about you?
All right, so those are fair points. I mean, Vince Young was a great college football quarterback. I remember Vince Young in his heyday, and at the time, USC was kind of the Alabama one. They weren't as dominant as Alabama is these days, but they were sort of on that level. Everybody wanted to knock them off. So when Texas did and Vince Young kind of single-handedly drove down the field for that winning score, that was a huge moment. You know, I jumped up off the couch and celebrated and everything like that. But if we actually look at his stats, I mean, it's really impressive. You know, passing, he threw for, you know, this year here alone, 3,000 yards. Passer rating, that was his best year, 163.9. So that's pretty good. You know, throws for 26 touchdowns. You know, solid year. Rushing that particular year, over 1,000 yards. Pretty much kissed 1,000 yards every season. And 12 touchdowns here, double-digit touchdowns every year. And, averaging 6.8 on these carries. So solid year. I mean Vince Young is a great college football quarterback. Is he the greatest of all time? No. Okay, so let's keep listening in and see who else we got.
Well, growing up, you know, you're a little young. You know, I had the Roger Staubachs, Joe Montana, Joe Namath, and all those guys that I really looked up to. But I'm going to go back in the era a little bit where you can understand this one, Aaron.
I appreciate that.
Hey, it's Cam Newton. I watched on the sideline this guy. I said, okay, we saw him against LSU run for 250 yards. I told the defensive coordinator, hey, let's stack it up. Let's make him beat us with his arm. Well, guys, he had about 220 in the first quarter in the air. So it showed me. And here's what's amazing. He's 6'5", guys. He's every bit of that. He can move, he can escape, and he can throw the football.
What's a conversation like that with the defensive coordinator when he does that in the first quarter?
Yeah, it's
You're the head coach.
He's looking at me like, wait a minute, you told me to stop the run. I'm stopping run. So now I'm telling him to get back and play a little cover two.
At some point, we've all been around them. Some guys are just freaks, and you just have to tip your hat and then go on to the next one.
How about you, Aaron?
Matt.
All right, so Cam Newton would be a solid choice on the surface. You know, you look at the year he was at Auburn. We're looking at passing, you know, 2,800 yards passing, average yard attempt 10.2, 182 passer rating. You know, those are 30 touchdowns, rushing 1,400 yards, just ridiculous. You know, 20 touchdowns. So incredible numbers. Cam Newton had one of the most electrifying college football seasons of all time. Another guy by the name of Johnny Manziel came along a short time later and matched, if not surpassed, Cam Newton, though. Okay, so in 2010, I thought that Cam Newton would long be held as the most electrifying college football player that ever played the game. And then we got Johnny Manziel, and this dude was ridiculous. So he threw for 4,100 yards, 172 passer rating. And that's not, the year he won the Heisman, I think, was 2012, and he threw for 3,700 yards. So just stupid, lower passer rating on that year. 1,400 yards rushing. This is the year that he pulled off that heartbreaker against Alabama, all of those crazy miracle plays that he kept coming up with. This guy could just make it happen. So as far as like electrifying, must-watch college football players, you got to have Johnny Manziel and then Cam Newton. Cam Newton thrived in the Gus Malzahn system with the most overrated head coach of all time in Gene Chizik. But that's neither here nor there. That, option up the middle, hold it, pull the ball and throw it, or hand it off, run it. He just thrived in that system. So it's kind of hard to say that he's the greatest college football quarterback of all time when a couple of years later we had a guy that was even more electrifying. So let's keep listening and see who else we got.
Leinart, you want to talk about someone who looked the part for Southern Cal? I mean,
Yeah.
pretty boy guy, lefty, smooth release, won a bunch of games, 37-2, 99 touchdowns, career about 65% completion percentage. So he's Joe Smooth back there, pretty much. I mean, he had a ton of talent around him. Obviously, Reggie Bush there, won a Heisman, and most importantly, it's the win column.
All right, Matt Leinart did have a phenomenal college football career at USC. So if we look at his stats, 2004, I think, is the year he won the Heisman. He threw for 3,300 yards, so he's not throwing for under 3,000 yards in a year. But a 164 is his highest passer rating, and he pretty much hung in the 156, 157. Then we've got, touchdown or rushing, non-existent. So this is awful. This is embarrassing. But I mean, you don't have to be a great rusher. It just kind of, we look at what sort of player he was. He had a lot of weapons around him, a lot of tools to utilize, and USC was sort of a force in this period of time right here. So Matt Leinart would be a great choice for a great college football quarterback. Is he the greatest of all time? Absolutely not. That title belongs to the one and only Tim Tebow. Period. It's the end of the story. All right? Tim Tebow won 2 national championships, 2006 and 2008. Heisman Trophy. Was he the most electric college football player? At that time, when we were watching him, he was. He was, you had Reggie Bush, who was electrifying to watch. But Tim Tebow, when Tim Tebow was on the field, you were scared as a fan of an opposing team. I hated Tim Tebow as an Alabama fan. Could not stand him because you knew what he was going to do. He was going to run it up the gut or he was going to dump it off. You couldn't stop him, okay? So as far as like an overall consistency as a player, we just look at his numbers. Here we've got 3,200 yards, 2,700 yards, 2,800 yards. Passer rating is a 172, 172, 164. This is the year he won the Heisman, 2007, so they didn't even win the national championship that year. Then down here, in his rushing, we've got, 910 yards. The year he won the Heisman, 895 yards. Now that's not 1,400 yards, but that's a lot. 23 touchdowns. This is the guy that dominated college football. Florida dominated the SEC and dominated college football. In 2008, he single-handedly came from behind to beat Alabama in the SEC championship and went on to win the national championship that year. He was the reason Alabama didn't win their first national championship in the Saban era in 2008. Period. That's just the end of the story. Okay, when Alabama beat him in 2009 in that national championship, it felt like taking down Superman. Okay, He was just on a different level than everybody else. Say what you will about him as a pro quarterback. I would actually argue that he won his playoff game as a pro quarterback, but that's another story. As a college football quarterback, the intangibles, leadership, ability, skill on the field, results, everything that goes along with that, Tim Tebow is the greatest college football quarterback of all time. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for checking out this video, and we'll talk to you later.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.